I saw DC's best comic book movie in recent years, and it's DC League of Super Pets. I'm honestly surprised that an animated movie has been one of the better DC projects in the most recent years. Not counting the Batman, of course. Overall, I thought this movie was really fun. I thought it was a great kids movie. It had a lot of comic book references for hardcore comic book fans, which was really cool. And it was a really wholesome pet movie. And as a pet owner myself, it's great to see. It's always fun seeing pets and other animals on screen. I don't know, I'm a huge fan of animals, so that's probably why I liked it a lot. But before I get too deep into it, this video is going to contain spoilers. We're going to talk review, breakdown, post-credit scenes, and then some references. So make sure if you haven't seen it yet to come back later once you do. And I'll break this up into segments so that you can easily find which part of the video you want to watch. So let's start off with the review. I really like the characters in this movie. I think Krypto and Ace had the best stories. Ace's story was very sad, and as a pet owner, it really bothered me because when he was a puppy, he got adopted with this nice little child. So it was going to be him and his little kid growing up together, which was going to be a really nice story. However, when the child one day wandered off into the hallway, the little toddler was about to fall down the stairs. And as a great heroic dog, Ace swoops in to save him, just for him to bite his arm. But, he wasn't trying to hurt the kid, but he still left bite marks. And instead of dealing with this like responsible owners, even though the dog wasn't showing aggression, they just got rid of it. Like, I get, you need to be careful when you have a child and a dog. If the child bites the dog, you need to be very careful because you don't want to have that happen again. But, like, the gate was open, they were right next to the stairs, and the parents were too stupid to put one and one together. It bothered me because I'm like, you just got rid of your dog just like that, threw him in the pound where he had to grow older in the pound, and it's just like, why? Why do you gotta do that? Like, it's obvious that your dumbass who didn't shut the gate was about to have a goddamn child get really injured, and then the dog saved him. Irresponsible owners, and that bothers me. Anyways, that was a really sad story, but it really showed how Ace was somewhat of a hero when he was a kid, and it's great to see. And I wish that he didn't get left alone because that's a sad story, but he ended up getting with Batman in the end. But, so he has a nice big family in the DC universe. Then Krypto's storyline was Krypto really trying to grow as a character because it was always him and Superman. Since birth, it was always him and Superman. However, he just couldn't do it. He was so attached to his owner that he couldn't accept anyone else coming in. And in this case, it was Lois Lane marrying Clark. And he just couldn't accept it. However, through the film, he slowly grows into this character who can accept other people into his life. Because he meets his other pets where they end up becoming another family to him, just kind of like how the Justice League is another family to Superman. And in this, it really shows that he's growing as a character because at first he only would do everything by himself. He didn't trust anyone else. He would just do what he wanted to do. However, throughout it, he started to grow with the team. He didn't have his powers because they got taken away, so he had to rely on other people. Then by the end of it, he still tries to go and stop the bad guy by himself, but the Super Pets come in to help out because they're there for him and they trust him, and then he learns to trust them as well for them to go save Superman and him to go save Lois. Really nice and touching story, and in the end he accepts Lois into his life, and it's really wholesome in the end. And then all the other pets get their owners as well because all the Justice League members need pets, so they all get them. Aquaman and Cyborg kind of get the leftovers from the super guinea pigs that were in the movie, but hey, they all have pets now, and it's fun. Well, let's jump into the breakdown. I want to talk about the pets and their powers and, where they came from. So we got Krypto. In this movie, his origin is he went into the shuttle with Clark. In the comics, that's not how it goes. In the comics, Clark was sent to Earth just like how he always is. However, Krypto was in a test rocket prior, and he got lost in space. But eventually that rocket picked up the signal of Clark's ship and then flew to Earth to meet baby Clark, which in the end was teenager Clark, and then they became best friends from there. And then you may be wondering, so we all know how Krypto gets his powers, he's Kryptonian. Of course he's going to get his power under the yellow sun, but how does all the other super pets get their powers? Well, they get it through orange kryptonite, which Lex was trying to get to give himself powers, but however, it didn't work on him, it only worked on pets, which is slightly different from the comics. In the comics, an orange kryptonite gives Superman the powers of an animal, which is odd, so it's kind of like a nice twist, because it's giving pets powers instead of giving Superman powers of animals, which is fine. So we got the first character, the one that is the evil genius of all, and it is Lulu the Guinea Pig. Turns out Lulu the Guinea Pig was Lex Luthor's experiment. She thought she was his pet, But that wasn't the case. She was just another experiment to him, and he did not give a shit about her. And that is classic Lex. He doesn't give a care about anyone else but himself. Her powers she got through were telekinetic powers, and she was pretty OP, like really OP compared to the other super pets. We got PB the pig, who also became Wonder Woman's pig in the end, and kind of called herself Wonder Pig. She gained the powers to grow large and small. She's not from the comics, but Wonder Woman has had a pet in the comics, and that has been a pet kangaroo. Weird, right? Maybe Wonder Woman will get a pig later down the road in the comics now. Then we had Merton the turtle, who is a character from the comics, except slightly differently. So Merton got super speed, and in the comics, Merton is a super speed turtle who stands on 2 legs. And this is from the Golden Age comics, so, a little bit of weird stuff. I don't think he's been around in the comics recently, but in the show, it's a she can't see, and she also swears a lot, which is hilarious. For a kid's movie, there's just blurs. Like, they just bleep out what she's saying, and it's funny. And in the end, her superhero costume is like, her shell looks like Jay Garrick's helmet, which was pretty cool and I liked. Then I talked about Ace's backstory in the beginning. However, normally Ace does not have powers. In this, he gets the power of invulnerability, which is interesting, because Batman usually doesn't, have pets have powers, but hey, it adds a little twist to it, adds a little cartoon to it. It adds some nice cartoon elements to it so that you can kind of throw the dog in anything and it won't get hurt. In the comics, Ace's origin is he's originally a German Shepherd that is found by Robin, who is drowning in a lake while trying to find his owner, John Wilker. And then Ace joins a dynamic duo trying to find his owner. And of course, after that, because they can't find the owner, Batman takes the dog in. Classic Batman taking in strays off the street. And they eventually find his owner, but then he ends up being on loan to him from the owner, and he becomes part of the Bat Fam. There's also other versions of Ace, but this is the first one. Then we got Chip. And you might be wondering, why does a squirrel named Chip sound familiar? Well, in the comics, Chip is a Green Lantern, but not the squirrel from Earth. But in this, he's a squirrel that's in an adoption facility, which is weird, because why would a squirrel be there? And he has lightning powers, which my first thought would have been, oh, Shazam, because that's, one of the lightning-based characters, but it's not. Eventually, he ends up becoming Green Lantern's sidekick. At the very end of the movie, he gets his Green Lantern ring, which he says that Jessica gave it to him, which again is different from the comics. In the comics, he gets it given to him by Guardians. But he's not an actual squirrel, he just resembles a squirrel. I have no idea how to pronounce any of the homeworld. It's like Hilvin, and it's been overrun by this crabster army. He was a part of the Resistance, captured, then sentenced to death. The Guardians of the Universe offered him a Green Lantern ring, and then he became a Green Lantern, just because he saved his planet, and was in the same recruitment class as Hal Jordan. So it's just a fun little squirrel alien from space. And then we had, lastly, Whiskers, a cat that also got superpowers. However, Whiskers' powers were like projectiles that came out of his tails, and whiskers and stuff. It was kind of weird, but he was able to shoot rockets. Cute little maniac. My first thought was, when they first introduced him, I thought he was going to be Streaky the Super Cat, which is Supergirl's Kryptonian cat, and I wonder if we will see that cat eventually, because I'm sure this movie will get a sequel. Let's talk about the Justice League. I wasn't really a big fan of some of the designers, specifically Jessica Cruz's, because I didn't like it. It just didn't resemble the character to me. Aquaman had flippers, which was weird, but it was a comedic movie for kids, and it was fun. And it's also funny because they all get taken out by a bunch of powered super guinea pigs, which is also kind of funny because, they shouldn't. I'm assuming because, they underestimated a bunch of guinea pigs who have superpowers. And then they got their asses kicked. But amateurs. Speaking of the guinea pigs, Lulu goes and creates a bunch of guinea pigs to get superpowers. And 2 of them are called Mark and Keith, who also end up joining the Super Pets in the very end of the movie. One of them gets ice powers, and one of them gets lava powers, but then Lulu puts them together, making one kind of turn into douse down, and another one being turned into water. So, of course, who would these guys go to? Well, the water one goes to Aquaman, and the other one goes to Cyborg. For whatever reason, they just kind of get their own pets. Because it seemed like there wasn't really any pets for anyone else, so they just kind of threw them together. So that then they join the League of Super Pets. So they'll be in the sequel whenever that happens. And then we have Lex Luthor. He had a really cool armor design in this, and he's always his evil self. He's trying to take over the world. He's trying to take out Superman, and it's funny because, Lulu does everything to get him out of jail, and then he just betrays her in the end, because he wants all the fame for himself, which is classic Lex Luthor, which backfires, and then he almost gets killed along with the Justice League. But because Lulu is trying to take over the world and destroy everyone, she ends up turning herself into this giant-ass monster, and the only way to defeat her is for Krypto to do a solar super punch. Which you're wondering, what the hell is that? Well, it's for Krypto to go to the sun, he collects all the solar energy, and he goes down and punches Lulu. And realistically, he would die from doing that. but luckily Ace took the blow and blocked it. However, this is really interesting because this is something Superman would do. He would go to the sun, collect all the solar radiation to fight some of his strongest enemies, and then do one final blow to try to take him out. Which I thought was a nice, cool take, because you got the dog doing it, just like Superman would. But let's move on to some of the DC references from the DC Comics. The first one we got is Earth 1, 2, and 3. And you're wondering, well, where would that come in? Well, Lois Lane calls the Justice League hotline, and it's like, please wait, who would you like to speak to? Earth 1 Justice League, Earth 2 Justice League, Earth 3 Justice League, Earth 4? So, just kind of nice, fun reference to the multiverse. Then we had Crypto eating Cryer's ice cream, which I figured was a play on the Breyer's ice cream brand, but because John Cryer played Lex Luthor in Supergirl, I figured that's where it came from. During one of the news segments, they say the infinite guinea pigs, and the guinea pigs are all attacking, which is a nice play on Crisis on Infinite Earths, or Infinite Crisis. Then we had a Ferris sign, a Big Belly burger, a sign that said Hex on it with a cowboy hat, which would have been Jonah Hex. There was a literal Catwoman sign that just said Catwoman with eyes on it. Some nice DC references for the DC comic fans. I'm sure there were still some I missed, so let me know what you saw in the comments. There were some Marvel references because, DC and Marvel like to play at one another every once in a while. So we got Squilvery. That's what PB called Chip at one point. And then when the pets were getting their powers, PB said, "My uncle didn't have to die for me to become a hero," which is obviously a Spider-Man reference, Uncle Ben dying. Then we had Ace going through fire with his invulnerability, being like, why couldn't I get a magic hammer or stretchy powers? Nice Thor and Mr. Fantastic reference. Superman irons his shirt and says, well, I'm Iron Man. A nice Iron Man reference. And then a non-Marvel reference, but another non-DC reference as well. They had a Garfield toy on one of the cars. Some pretty fun references throughout this entire thing, which I thought was great. So let's talk about the credit scenes now. So the first one is Lex being trapped in their little contraption that he was trapped in with other Justice League members. They just kind of left him there. And then we had his assistant going back and getting Lulu out of her trapped location and taking in her as a pet. So now Lulu has an owner. Maybe she'll come back. I'm hoping that it's kind of one and done. We can just start with a new character now. Then we had Black Adam in the post-credit scene. And I'm sure they only put him in there because The Rock plays Black Adam in the Black Adam movie that's coming out later this year. And I'm pretty sure Black Adam's voice was The Rock. So we had The Rock and playing Crypto and Black Adam at the very end there. So this is how it plays out. We have Superman and Crypto playing fetch. Black Adam's dog comes in, takes Crypto's toy, and then Crypto starts talking to him. Black Adam just kind of casually goes up to Superman and they talk. But Crypto's like, well, who are you? And he's like, well, I'm Black Adam's dog. And he's like, Black Adam's an anti-hero. And Crypto's like, well, that's just another word for villain. And then they're kind of talking back and forth. Kind of talking, pretty much calling Black Adam a bad guy. And then Crypto's like, well, I bet you can't take him around the Pluto and back. And he's like, huh? And then Crypto kind of manipulates him, just kind of grab Black Adam and fly away. So they fly away and that's where it ends. So maybe, Black Adam's dog and Black Adam will come back in the sequel. Maybe be potential villains. But who knows? I'm pretty sure it was just there because the movie is coming out in the fall and The Rock just wanted to promote his other movie and his other role. Overall, Super Pets was a really cool movie. I think it's a great family flick, and it's a fun movie, and that's all it needs to be. What did you think of DC's League of Super Pets? Let me know down in the comments. And what other references did you see during this? Let me know what I missed, and what else did you think was cool? If you like content just like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button because I got many videos coming. Make sure you're following me on all my other platforms to stay up to date with what I do regularly. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.